Stop this little pain in my heart. Stop this little pain in my heart. Someone stop this pain. Someone stop this pain. Oh.
What's up? This is Improvement Coach Robert L. Caddy. Again, you're tuned in into the health of the nation. Of course, I'm here with my partner in crime one time, ma'am.
This is Sharita Sweet.
Sharita Sweet is in the house as usual. And we have a great show lined up for you today. It's going to be very informative as usual. Hopefully we're going to touch on a note that's gripping the nation right now. As usual, that is our goal with every show. We always want to make sure that we talk about subjects and put them in perspective with what's happening in the nation and how it relates to the health of the nation. And today, we're going to be talking about grief and, how we can start to deal with that, how we can put that in perspective, because there's so much that is happening that's leading to more and more grief.
Yeah.
So that's going to be our topic, not only dealing with grief, but also understanding some of the tactics and strategies, if you will, that will be necessary for us and for you to keep going.
Yeah.
Most importantly, we have to keep going. So we're going to talk about that, put some things in perspective. Also, we have a guest here with us today. She's sitting in with us. She's a part of the KBOB team, and she's part of the PWIN team as well. Ma'am, would you please one time introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Victoria Udebua.
Victoria's in the house. Come a little closer to that mic, Victoria.
Okay.
All right.
This is good.
Yeah,
Better?
a little closer. Yeah, just so you can hear you a little louder there.
Okay.
So Victoria's in the house, and she's going to be helping us to go a little deeper into this subject. Again, when we talk about grief, we see what's happening. We know that grief upon grief upon grief, if we look at it this way, we know that our experiences, and there are so many people who are having experiences right now. We know that we're in a very unique position as it pertains to what's happening in America. It's been a very long time since we have experienced a pandemic to this degree that's having the type of results that it is having on the nation.
Truly.
So this is something that it's important that I think that we take a moment and talk about, and also just kind of share our thoughts with each other. So that's what we want to do. Sharita, what do you think about the importance of us going a little deeper into this subject at this time in history?
I think in reality, if you look at the Spanish flu that we had many, many years ago, over 100 years ago in itself, I think only about 80,000 people died in the United States from the Spanish flu, in comparison to about over 600,000 from COVID-19. So the amount of grief that's being experienced now, I think, is, as you can see, just by numbers, it's even more so than what we've ever experienced within a 2-year period.
Okay.
To be honest, that many people, have passed away.
Now, how many was in the Spanish flu? Just so I get my
80,000.
numbers. Okay, 80,000. All right. And how long did that last?
The Spanish flu lasted
about 2 years.
About 2 years.
About 2 years.
Yeah, because they did the same things that we were doing now.
Okay.
They masked as they were walking around. Kids were wearing masks as they were going to school. I mean, all those things.
Okay. And what are our numbers looking like? Just
for death wise, it's over 600,000 now. I think it's at 650,000 at this time. So grief is definitely exponential in every realm right now, from people having to just deal with regular death, of grandparents and people just dying, when having accidents and then people dying from those things. So you still have that on top of what we're experiencing right now. And so it's overwhelming. It really is, and I don't
Yeah.
think the nation, just in general, has really rectified mentally how to prepare and how to walk through these steps. Because if it's not you that's affected, you know someone who is affected,
Right.
in one way or the other. So I think it's something that we really do need to talk about more
Yeah.
and more. And I'm pretty sure all of our counselors and all of the therapeutic books are being checked out and read in one way or the other, because it is definitely something that is in the back of the mind of most people in this nation, one way or the other.
I guess if you can imagine, man, probably 1 out of 5 to 6 conversations involving either a COVID situation or someone passing from it.
Oh yeah, I would agree with that.
I guess that can be a little bit overwhelming,
Oh heck yeah.
mentally, on people. So it's going to be very hard, I think, for people to continuously hear about this and it not have an effect upon them.
Oh,
so at this time, we definitely want to lay the foundation for the nation to equip themselves. And I'm going to say, my language is equip yourself for battle, because what's imminent, right?
Yep.
It's imminent. So we need to prepare ourselves. We need to train for it.
Yeah.
And the training begins by starting to think about it.
Yeah.
I know you looked up a verse, Sharita, that was very powerful, that kind of put some things in perspective. I did want to kind of throw that out there just to break the ice for everyone who's listening, who may be dealing with some grief, or just hearing about other people who are passing. If you would.
Will do. So it says Psalms 23:4. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me.
So what does that mean to you, Sharita?
Basically, no matter what hardship I go through, no matter what's attacking me, no matter what evil energy or whatever you want to call it that I feel around me or whatever else, I'll be able to walk through it and withstand it. And I'm not alone in doing so. I have a protector who's guiding me through it in itself. And so I never have to feel alone as I'm going through, those battles, whatever they may be.
What does that mean to you, Victoria?
So as I hear that scripture, it talks to me specifically about a focus shift, right? You're in the darkest valley, but that's not the most important part of that scripture. The most important part is that God is with you.
True.
And
I agree with
when you know that God is with you, you're going to be able to come through on the other side successful.
Yeah.
It reminds me so much of one of the dreams that Daniel had, right? Where he saw all of the different beasts, right? He saw all of these scary beasts. And in the dream, he had to keep on looking, keep on looking. And had he not done that, he wouldn't have seen the glory of God, which slayed all of the beasts that he initially was scared by. And I believe that is the kind of situation that we're in now.
Wow.
If we continue to focus specifically on COVID and put all of our energy toward this beast, we're not going to see the glory of God already moving on our behalf in this situation.
Wow.
Already moving on our behalf.
Yes.
So I guess that's definitely something that we need to think about, is that he's already moving on our behalf.
Already in the works. Yep.
Okay. So as we walk through the valley in at the shadow of death, okay, we're walking through the valley, and that's telling us that it's imminent.
Yeah.
It has always been imminent, right? But under these circumstances, we didn't see it coming.
True.
And quite often, I think that's what leads to some of the grief that leads to, can lead to trauma.
Yeah.
It's usually something that people didn't see coming. I didn't see this coming.
Definitely.
I didn't see it happening this way.
Definitely.
And we talk about it often, that you never know. But really putting in perspective the possibilities right now for anyone, so for, the people out there who are dealing with that, again, here at the Health of the Nation, from radio station KBOB 89.9 team and the Better program, we do offer our sincere condolences and prayers to anyone out there who is dealing with grief because of the loss of a loved one. And I'm also going to say that, if you know someone, we want to continue to pray for those that we know. We want to pray that they're comforted as they go through this,
Truly.
as we go through this time. But
True. Can I ask a question?
Uh-huh,
So what is
please.
grief defined as? What is it truly defined as? Because some
Mhm.
people say, oh, I'm just dealing with sadness or whatever else in itself. And grief to me has always seemed like something so much more deeper.
Okay.
But I've never really understood completely actually how to define it.
Let's look at it and see how it's defined in the dictionary, and it just basically says that it is a deep sorrow, especially that's caused by someone's death. So a deep sorrow. Okay, I mean, I guess we feel a way or we get sad about certain things that may not be a deep sorrow. I guess we experience things all the time and it's not a deep sorrow.
Okay.
But I guess when it's deep, I guess this is grief. And, from the conversations I would have and the conversations I have had, and I'll just say this, I'll throw this out there as far as my experience in talking with people who have experienced grief. Of course, I worked in the mortuary business for probably 15 years or so. So I can't count the number of conversations I've had with people about grief. I can't count them. But one thing that I learned is that when it turns into something that has a lasting effect, almost what we refer to as something that could, of course, it could be addictive. It could be just as addictive as depression,
Truly.
as anxiety, as any particular emotional state that we are in for a certain amount of time can always turn into something that can be quote unquote addictive.
Yeah.
So knowing so many people who have been through that and who were in an extended state, and that's something that I would add to that definition beyond just a deep sorrow, but also remaining in a deep sorrow for an extended amount of time, and that's how I would describe grief.
Okay.
I think we all have, minimal instances where something really makes me sad,
Yeah.
when I think about it. But when it's an extended amount of time,
Yeah.
that's how I would describe
Okay.
grief. And I'm going to ask both of you all, if you have any particular instances in your life where you felt like, you were going through a very deep or an extended amount of time as far as being as far as grieving. What about you, Victoria? Is that something that you have experienced, for an extended amount of time? Would you say?
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
The first thing I wanted to say, I
Right
wanted
here,
to
Victoria. Boom. About to
add.
get
I'm
up
gonna
on
get
that.
this mic
Get
situation.
up on that. You see me?
You're
Watch,
good.
Look-
give me like one more
Look,
minute.
I'm on that thing.
Damn.
You see me on there?
I see you
You
on
gotta
there.
get on the mic.
You about to be
Okay.
you breathing
I'm
on
on
it.
it.
I don't know if I want to be breathing
But
on
you
it.
can't hear me though.
You're right. You're right.
Right. Mhm.
Okay, so the first thing I wanted to do was to just add to that definition.
Mhm.
I feel like it's grief is sadness that digs a hole. When it digs a hole, when there's a
That
part of
deep
you that's missing,
Yeah.
that's what
Interesting.
makes it difficult to heal from than something that's a lot more superficial,
Very interesting.
right? Because it's something that every time you see that hole, every time you feel that wound, you're reminded, you're taken back to that
Right.
place,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
For me, I'd actually done a talk on grief before back in May, and I was talking about the loss of my mother. My mother was my best friend, and she passed away Christmas Eve of last year,
Oh,
of
wow.
2020. She dealt with 4 different cancers,
That's sad.
and she also had COVID, but she had COVID and recovered from it.
Wow.
So it wasn't COVID that took her
That
out;
took
it
her.
was
Okay.
brain cancer that did that.
Oh, wow.
And so for me, I'd never dealt with any sort of grief in my life before. And so it was something that I didn't know what I was going to do. What helped me, and that's why I think it's so beautiful that we began this conversation with scripture, with laying down that spiritual foundation, because for me, that was a major part in my healing process.
Yeah.
God had to lay his hand mightily over me to get through this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, it would have been incredibly difficult for me. I live here in Oklahoma, but I'm originally from New York City.
Okay.
All of my family's in New York.
I see.
I came here based off of a word of God. Obedience brought me here
Wow.
to Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oh, wow.
And so my mother passed away, the Lord had called me to go back to New York and go see her.
Yeah.
I literally got there the day before she passed.
Oh my goodness.
But I didn't get to say goodbye.
Oh wow.
So there were a ton of things that were going on that could have plunged me just into that spiral. And it was through his hands, his leadership, him taking me through that darkest valley that we were speaking about, that I was able to progressively heal from this.
Okay.
You know,
Well, that's
exactly.
And making that healing. What are is any particular ideas, points, concepts, scriptures, anything particular that you think helped you to come out of that hole?
I'm going to tell you about, because there were a couple of things I spoke about in that talk. The one of the, because I was, as a writer, one of the things that the Lord told me to do was write more creatively. Allow yourself to just be expressive. So I wrote tons of poetry.
Oh, wow.
I wrote tons of poetry, short stories, just things that I wasn't writing before.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Another thing that's more so general, not specific to my craft already. The Lord told me that I needed to own up to the fact that I blamed him for her death.
Wow.
I had to, and that's the thing. A lot of times when we lose someone, we're angry.
Oh yeah.
Right.
We don't know why this person was taken away from us. And for me, my mother was my person.
There's usually a lot of mixed emotions that people, sometimes it's, what could I have done? So was it my fault? Was it my fault for not being there? What is it? All of these different things. All of this self blame.
Agreed.
So people go through a lot. I mean, and that's really our minds trying to figure out what's
happening.
This angle, this angle, this angle. Was it this? Was it that? And sometimes it's just beyond us. And usually it is. Beyond us. What about you, Sharita? Is anything particular that you remember or have experienced in your life that led into a brief period or extended period of grief?
Goodness, I had a lot of death in my family when I was young.
Okay.
And two very important people in my life, my grandmother first, and then my grandfather. And they died about 3 years between each other in itself. And so I think for me, I would have, I guess I would call it a relapse of grief, because I don't know what else to say how to say it. Where when I would be at my grandmother's house or whatever else, I would have these just sense of sorrowful moments of being there. I remember when I was younger, for whatever reason, I was staying in her house, and I immediately, in the middle of a dream, I didn't know it was a dream partially, but I woke up in the middle of the night thinking that my grandmother had just made breakfast, and I was smelling bacon in the house and whatever else, and biscuits and whatever else. And so I ran downstairs, and then when I got to the last staircase and realized it was just pitch black dark, I was like, what was that? And so I think it was a part of my grief, because she had passed maybe about a year before that time. And so I would have, for me, just when I used to think about some of the things that I would do with my grandmother or my grandfather, I would have happy moments, but then I would always have these sometimes really sad moments. A lot of the times it's becoming more happier in itself, more than anything. And that has been where it's been probably for however long, maybe over, I don't know, maybe 5 years past their death is where I would think of more of the happier moments, more so than the sad moments. But it just became one of those things that I think for me, their death probably was the most deepest thing, because I saw my grandfather die in front of me. And my grandmother passed away so unexpectedly for the entire family, that it threw everybody off. And she was the mother of 15 kids. And so my mom was her oldest. And so it threw everybody in a complete different shift at that time. And she was a very strong and spiritual person. But she was not one who expressed her health issues to a lot of people. And we didn't know about those issues. Her kids didn't know about those issues until her deathbed. And so forth. So, but anyway, I would have to say their deaths affected me deeply.
And usually, those people who are, who help to raise us, for a lot of us who have dealt with that grief, mother, father, close aunties, close uncles, so on and so forth. I mean, everyone who has dealt with that, or everyone who will deal with that, it can have an effect upon our lives. And
Definitely.
kind of leaning in on our subject and how we promoted this show, grief, and how we can keep going.
Yeah.
I'd have to say for me, definitely two of the more inspirational and influential people in my life, being my father and my grandmother, who actually passed like 2 months apart.
Wow.
Like I say, I think my grandmother passed, my father passed, and then my son was born.
Wow.
So for me, I kind of took a different perspective on that and looked at it as if because of those lives, there was a new life that was created.
Yeah.
I always felt like, and I always say that it wasn't enough room for my daddy, me, and my boy on the planet. It's just too much,
much.
But I just thought about the fact of what I received from them.
Yeah.
And with my grandmother is more a little bit of grief, because of I guess that motherly figure.
Yeah.
But for my father, it was more like, and I still don't feel like that to this day, that really either of them are quote unquote dead.
Yeah.
I don't say the dead word.
Wow.
I would only say the dead word if they were dead.
Right.
But to me, they are living.
I understand.
And so this is what the conversation I've had with so many people. How do you let someone who you love die?
Yeah.
Unless you forget everything that they gave to you.
Sure.
If it's something that's living within you, it's no way that they could be not alive.
True.
Not alive. I mean, because I haven't felt a day, in which my father was not alive.
Yeah.
And I hope I never feel that day, because that would mean I would be living totally out of everything that he showed me or taught me.
Interesting.
And so this is what I've always recommended, for people, a perspective. Don't let the ones who you love die.
Mm-hmm.
This is not just us lighting a candle for remembrance. That candle should be burning within.
True.
It's the candle burning within. Because when that candle goes out, now you got something that's going to literally burn a heart, burn your heart, burn a hole in your heart, because they're not living there anymore.
Yeah.
But when, every step and every single day I can think of those lessons, and it gives me pleasure. It helps me. It gives me joy inside. Even if y'all look at my face and I'm not smiling, because I'm not smiling all the time. I'm always smiling within. I have joy within.
Yeah.
And I'm going to recommend that everyone who is dealing with that, think about their perspective and think about what they gained from those relationships from people who may not be here anymore. It doesn't matter if it was a mother, a father, an aunt, or an uncle. You still may be in a situation where there's some relationships where people pass, people lose children, and of course this is always hard, because, they have yet to live that life, that yet to fulfill a life, and where they can actually leave, a legacy for us sometimes.
True.
But even then, we do have to adjust our perspective. Adjust our perspective. And it's of course, it's easier said than done. In all of these situations, it's easier said than done. But adjusting our perspective so that we can always look at what we gain, and through faith, if we got the faith that we say we have, we have to look at what it has brought us to gain a better understanding of through faith. I can identify the good in it. What have I gained? What is it that God is showing me? What is it that I need to see more of and become more of? So that's always been my perspective, and it's something that with whenever people in my family, people who are close to me, who mean a lot to me, it has always given me that fire. I literally had a close friend of mine tell me that when one of my close uncles, he passed, I believe it was last year or so, and she said that it was like you haven't been the same since. Somebody told me when my father died, she said, you haven't been the same since. And I said, they thought it was a bad thing. I said, exactly. I shouldn't be the same, because if I respect them enough and I appreciate them enough, it's no way that I could be the same person, because that what they taught me, what they gave me, that should have lit a fire within me to continue the good on that they showed me.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to say about grief, and that's what I'm going to throw out there for people who need to start to think about, how do I continue?
Yeah.
How do we continue as you see things around you that are happening consistently? How do you continue? There's some different type of shoes we have to step into. And I say it all the time. Basketball shoes are for basketball. Tennis shoes are for tennis. But combat boots is for combat. Step into the shoes. Some things are imminent. So start to establish that frame of mind so we can deal with what's imminent. But again, as it grips the nation, there are so many things that it can lead to, and I wanted to touch on that as well, just so we can lay the foundation for why people should even start to adapt a different perspective, if you will, because we know emotional states, they're definitely going to have an effect upon our health, right? I mean, and let's just say, some of us already have some challenges health-wise.
True.
Just the stress that you experience at work, let alone somebody passing. Let alone somebody else passing, let alone having conversations about passing, let alone picking up the newspaper and looking at the news and hearing about it every day. So we have to put these things in perspective and start to prepare ourselves. And if we need to adapt a different perspective, we need to do that. What about health, Sharita? How do we look? This is the seriousness of it. And this is something we have to talk about, the trickle-down effects
of how grief affects your health.
Definitely, without a shadow.
Well, it affects almost every aspect of your health, in all honesty, because grief is a stressor. So when you look at your different levels of cortisol, you're looking at the way that you deal with your sympathetic and your nervous system in itself. It affects all of those particular aspects. And so the way that you deal, it affects your organs, it affects, pretty much every aspect of your body it affects. So when you're dealing with grief, and depending on how long you have dealt with that grief or been in the middle of it in itself, your body will take a complete nosedive in health if you are not focusing on your health during that same time period. And your body will tell you that it's hurting and that you're causing that hurt in one way or the other. And that's not only dealing with death, that's also dealing with any kind of stressors. If you have long set stressors in your life that you are not dealing with appropriately, your body will tell you in one way or the other. And it can tell you in the form of a disease. It can tell you in a form of failure, organ failure, or whatever it might be. It can tell you, but you have to recognize that it's telling you that.
Wow. That's heavy, and that's something I think that we all have to look at. And I hope everyone who's listening and everyone who's watching, this is another reason that we are so we're so serious about health, because it is the foundation for everything that we're going to do and everything that we experience. How's your health, Victoria? Would you say, how's your health right now?
My health is actually very
It's very good.
Yeah. That's the one thing about having a good foundation when going into any of these things, especially when grief is concerned. I'm following instructions from someone who knows me better than I know myself.
Exactly.
Someone who has a better idea of what I need to be doing. And so during a lot of the time that I was going through grief, I was fasting and praying, and the Lord was using those instances to change my diet. So now there's certain things that I don't crave the way that I used to, that would have pushed my cholesterol up higher, that wouldn't have been as heart healthy or as organ healthy as what I'm currently eating now. And so, it's so important not to lose yourself just because you feel as though you lost someone. So I agree with you, Robert. The perspective shift is necessary to prevent more loss of life.
Definitely.
Truly.
I guess, like you say, losing oneself. I guess to the degree of where we sometimes can't return.
Truly.
Or waste, a lot of years of our life because of, we know what happens when we're in a particular emotional state for an extended amount of time. And this is when that grief actually can turn into addiction, and it can be very hard for people to get out of it. I heard you mention something about the things that we see as we go through grief. And this is addiction in general. If I see things that make me think about things, then I'm going to feel a way. And I may be trying to get out of the habit of, feeling a way. you know, but every time I see this picture, I feel away.
Yeah.
So sometimes that's why it's important that we have to start to think about things in a different way. And of course, again, it's going to take us back. I have to look at this whole situation in another way. I'm going to look at it different, so I think about it different, so I feel about it different.
Yes.
And what I feel about it's going to start to produce the biochemicals that are related to how I'm feeling.
Sure.
You know, this is something that, you know, we cannot ignore.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to feel away. If I'm going to be sad, I'm going to be sad. If I'm going to be angry, I'm going to be angry. If I'm going to be depressed, I'm going to be depressed. I'm going to have anxiety, you know, then my body is going to respond.
Definitely.
You know, and again, you know, I'm going to touch on this real quick, even though this is not what this particular show is about, but it is important when we talk about the connection between the mind, body, and spirit, and our ability to actually create the addictions that are necessary for us to be the people that we want to be and to do the things that we want to do. You know, so sometimes we have to create our world. You know, what needs to be in my world? What is it that I need to see every day?
Yeah.
You know, and there may be some things that I'm not prepared to see every day. I'm not ready to see that picture every day. I'm not ready to have that conversation every day. I have yet to grow my perspective where I can see that picture and I'm going to have a healthy thought that's going to lead to a healthy emotion. It may be something that tears me down.
Yep.
You know, so sometimes we have to ease into things. You know, but it is it's powerful.
Definitely.
You know, like you said, those trickle down effects as far as our health is concerned.
Yeah.
You know, you talked about cortisol.
Oh yeah.
And the effect. You know, cortisol and how it just renders cells inoperable.
Truly.
I mean, you have stopped your body's ability to heal.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and the thing about it is, this is something, again, this is imminent. Ain't nothing we can do about it. We're all going to experience it.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to experience it as long as we live, we're going to experience it.
Very true.
It's just that right now, you know, we have to come to grips with the reality of today.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, that doesn't mean I don't want nobody to take it the wrong way and think that we're saying that you have to ignore your emotions or hide from, you know, when you have legitimate feelings, you know, which could be sadness, or anything like that. I mean, these are things that we go through, you know, but under the circumstances, this is something that we cannot allow to allow these emotions to control our life.
True.
Because it can be hard to get up.
Yeah.
I know there's somebody out there who's watching, who are listening, who is struggling to get up, you know, right now because, you know, how it's happening over and over again. And some people who don't know that they're in a position to develop, you know, some very unhealthy addictions.
Yep.
You know, some people who don't know because they already had some pre-existing health conditions, you know, and now, you know, with them going through that grief, you know, they're enhancing, you know, those particular health challenges. Could have been diabetes, could be high blood pressure, could be problems with the heart, could be so on and so forth. But you know, that's like Victoria said, there's some things that you had to do to prepare your body. You know, you went on a fast, you were listening, you know, you had to be in a position to listen, to know that, I mean, and that was a very, very, that was an act of faith.
Truly.
You know, it was intelligent and it was an act of faith, you know, I mean, and it made total sense. And that's probably why, you know, you are well right now.
Yeah, and it hasn't even been a full year. It
Mhm.
hasn't even been a full year since her passing. And so, you know, one of the things that I also put into prayer, and I think that this would be helpful for those that are listening today, pray that the Lord helps to change that date for you, so that the date of their passing, doesn't have to just mean their passing.
Right.
Yes.
I want the Lord to rewrite that story for me. You know, because like you were saying, Robert, with your father and everything like that, they live in you. The life that you live has been elevated because of who they were.
Right.
And just because you cannot see them in the physical doesn't mean that they're not very much alive in you. That's how I feel about myself and my mother. She very much lives in me. And I know because of the woman that she always was, she would want me to live life to the fullest. And so part of that restructuring of self, it's also important for that date to also mean something different.
Right.
So I would, you know, encourage people to pray about that if they so feel led to do so. And then the other point that I think is important to mention too we did say that it's important for you to fill out your feelings, express your emotions because you did experience loss and your feelings are valid.
Yes.
It is also important not to go through the grief process alone.
Yes.
True.
Do not do this by yourself.
Yeah.
I know that we are in a very strange time where it seems as though, well, not even more than seems, we're in a place where we can't see the people we want to see as freely as we used to. But there are other ways and mediums to still get in touch with family.
Right.
You want to do that. Let those people speak life to you if you don't have the strength and energy to do so for yourself.
Yeah.
Because as important it is to let the story be that we were able to get up and move past our grief, in the very beginning, you need other people to grab your arms and lift you.
Yes.
You
We
cannot
need that.
do it by yourself.
Yeah.
So I wanted to just make that point as well.
Definitely.
That's a good
Because
one.
we like I say, that's a great get up and keep going point.
Definitely.
And of course, like we said, the grief is imminent.
Oh yeah.
We're going to experience that. And right now, with everything that's happening, it's going to be it's going to happen more often. But on the other side of that, the victory.
Yeah.
The victory. What do we need to do to prepare ourselves so we can be victorious? We want to be victorious through this situation, through what's happening in America, through the pandemic. We want to come out as victors.
Definitely.
So what is that frame of mind that we need to take, to prepare ourselves so that we will be victorious? Sharita, what are you doing to prepare yourself to be victorious?
Honestly,
I mean, it could be little things, but we all need to be doing something.
we definitely need to be doing something. I definitely need to be doing stuff, but
yeah, and probably are. I'm sure.
I'm pretty sure, but I'm not even sure exactly what I'm doing right now.
Right.
I mean, I'm changing a lot of different things in my life, primarily work-wise, looking at perspectives differently, in who I value and who values me, and in that way, so that my happiness is not dependent upon other people and their perspective of me in itself. My happiness just depends upon me, and my joy is defined through God. So and what He's done. So in that, I'm learning more about me in that aspect, and making those modifications in my life so that I can continue being happy no matter what comes my way, good, bad, or the ugly, because the good, bad, and the ugly is going to come no matter what, because it's destined for you. But you just have to make sure you're pushing through.
Come on.
And so that's what I'm learning a lot about myself during this time period, of what it is that's truly makes me happy, and how do I stay in my happy place, even with the bad and the ugly coming at me. I've seen a lot of my friends in their relationships and things like that, where they expected another person to keep them happy, and married in that capacity. And those relationships did not last, or had a lot of struggles, because their perspective of that person, or who that person was supposed to be, did not come to complete fruition in their lives, and it never was going to be. And I knew for me, I learned from other people's mistakes, always have, and I always look at other people as a model, good or bad. And so as I was seeing that progress in people that I've known for years, since high school or whatever else, and then just seeing the way COVID has shifted, not only the economy, it shifted the workforce, it has shifted the mind frames of people who were career minded in one way or the other. Because you will see now people who were in corporate areas in itself, they have all kind of shifted in one way or the other, where they're saying, you know what, am I really valued here? Do I really make a difference?
Yeah, and it shifted some people unknowingly.
Oh yeah.
Most of us, unknowingly. Of course, I think it would be to our advantage if we kind of pay attention and reevaluate, ourselves, and look at how I'm doing things different.
Surely.
To make sure that we're doing the right things that are lined up with what we want to do.
Exactly.
Or what our plans are, what our goals are, etc. Things that pertain to our journey, our purpose. Most importantly, what do I need to do to stay on track?
True.
Even under the circumstances.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a circle that I need to create to make sure that I stay on track to achieve and get engaged in my purpose, to stay engaged in my purpose. But that's everything you said. I mean, that's very powerful. It's a very powerful perspective under the circumstances. But something else I wanted to kind of lean on a little bit is just the effects of the culture itself, like you're saying, how it can shift, it's shifting so many people, you know, let's just, let's think about getting 5,000 people together who may be sad.
Yeah.
And this is why we need to think about this. 10,000 people.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't want to end up a sad nation, right? We want a better nation. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
We don't want, half the country to be sad. All these low spirits, because they weren't prepared to deal with, what's imminent. Like you already said, 600,000 deaths. We're probably already experiencing it to a degree, and we don't even know it.
Agreed.
Just from seeing it,
Yep.
On the news, in the newspapers, conversations, so on and so forth.
Yep.
But, like you talked about, Sharita, I mean, wanting to remain happy, that's something that I want to lean on real quick, while we have the time, happiness, right? And when I spoke about my situation and, the deaths within my family, I went through a period where, of course, like I said, my grandmother, my father, before that, I think 2 aunties were my father's aunties. And I think after he passed, another brother, so it's like,
it's hitting you pretty much.
I mean, back to back,
Yeah.
but, the concept of happiness, I think, is one thing that robs a lot of people of joy.
Agreed.
Right? Because I just want to feel this happiness when I look in the mirror, I want to make sure I look happy. And if I don't look happy, then it robs a lot of people of something that should be burning within, and this is 2 different things, I mean, we can't let the imminent rob us of joy. True. Because happiness is a moment. This is something that comes and goes, but we're looking at it as if it's a state that you should be in all the damn time. Let's be realistic. This is, I mean, for all the people out there who making songs, making videos, making all of this stuff, selling happiness all damn day, like you need it, and got people feeling bad because they ain't happy all day.
Right.
Let's be realistic about this and know that you're going to go through your day, through your life, and there's going to be times where you're not smiling.
Yep.
But that doesn't have any damn thing to do with the joy that should be inside.
True.
Most importantly, because this is, I mean, we have those emotions that was brief, but if we're looking at these things correctly, that should still be joy, right?
Yep.
What you guys say about joy, Victoria?
The world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away.
Truly. So true.
And the other thing too is, so that's kind of like my love-hate situation with the masks. With the mask that we have to wear. When you're wearing your mask, nobody
can't see smiles.
You're not checking my face for a smile. You have to actually look me in the eyes and just speak to me.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are affected externally by how we externally portray ourselves.
They are. Yeah.
But regarding joy, I mean, you have to be willing to explore and be adventurous if you have no idea what brings you joy. Take up a new hobby or something. See what you can, put your energy and concentrate and focus on. Just something that is going to do you some good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different things that you can do out there.
Yeah.
For myself, I've been dabbling into a lot of cooking.
Okay.
A lot of cooking, different styles of meals and stuff like that. I'm not quite vegan yet, but I'm trying a lot of vegan dishes, and I'm enjoying it.
So making those transitions and certain accomplishments that you're looking to give you or support the inner joy.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And
eat good, feel good.
Definitely.
Organs doing well.
Right. I mean, well, that fire should be burning.
Always.
And for me, it's just gratitude. That's a heavy word. I want to lean on when we talk about joy and kind of the difference in joy and happiness, versus grief and sadness. Gratitude. I mean, how happy am I? How much do I appreciate not only my family members and their lives and the legacy and the lessons that they left me, but when we talk about us supposedly being a nation of faith and truly appreciating God and appreciating the opportunity that we have every day, I think this should, without shadow of a doubt, be the fuel for joy. It don't matter what the hell is going on in my life or what I'm experiencing. I'm happy because I can breathe. That's all. Because I know long as I can breathe, I can what?
live, move.
I can get better, period. Long as I can breathe, okay, I can get better. That there's the fire for the joy within that allows us to prepare ourselves with the perspective that's going to allow us to go through the circumstances that we're dealing with.
True.
You know, I mean, that's what I would ask anybody. Anybody call and tell me is, can you breathe? First of all, can you breathe? If somebody say, well, I'm laying, I can't breathe. Okay, then we got a little remedy for that that's hopefully going to help. You might have to shorten your breaths and stop taking real big ones. You know, we might have to work on some things with your, with your pH balance, and we'll look at your diet and make sure you're getting oxygen in the 3 forms that you need it, which is going to be, of course, breathing, which you get it through a gas, and of course through liquid, which is going to be water, hydrogen, and oxygen, and of course through a solid, which is my foods. So I need to make sure I'm eating foods that have oxygen. So I'm just saying, supplying the body with what it needs first and foremost, and making sure that we have the oxygen that we need.
True.
Also just going back to breathing, right?
Yeah.
In the beginning, what did God say? How many times we talk about this? We all the time. I didn't make it up, but we can't not talk about it. In the beginning, God blew a breath of life into man.
True.
All right. And so, I mean, even when we talk about COVID, what is it attacking? Your lungs.
It is.
So it's going to attack your ability to breathe.
True.
So I'm just saying, when you can't breathe, you got a problem.
Yeah.
If you can breathe a little bit, if you can breathe a little bit, you can do a lot.
True.
The party's far from over. As long as I can breathe. I'm going to be I'm not, my joy may start to disappear if I can't breathe. I don't know.
Oh, definitely.
It might. I don't know. I might just be happy for the opportunity that I had, and hope I did all the right things. I guess in reality, I don't think none of our joy should go anywhere, but definitely putting it in perspective with happiness, because, and we're leaning on happiness, particularly because I think it's been misunderstood. I think it's been misused and misunderstood, and that there are a lot of people who are missing out on the concept of joy, thinking that they should always be happy, and as we look at what's happening right now, these situations where I'm not happy, they're going to compound. They're compounding. Here's something else I heard. I'm not happy about. I'm not happy. I'm not happy. I'm not happy. And before you know it, we have people who are thinking, well, I should be happy all the time, and I don't have no happiness.
Right.
Like you don't have no life. But hell, you should have joy.
Yeah.
And you should have joy through gratitude.
Always.
Gratitude. What you got to say about gratitude, Sharita? Anything? You got any gratitude over there?
I think in all honesty, I'm pretty grateful for most of the things that God has blessed me with. And I try to show gratitude to the people that are in my life, who have always been in my life, through the thick and thin and so forth. And even just in general, as you're just going through your day, showing gratitude to people, and being thankful just for people, even at Walmart and even at, Reese's or even at Target or whatever else, because they sacrifice their time to be there. And in itself. So I think for me, being able to show a thankful heart, even in the smallest of circumstances, is important. Because just a little bit of a thank you, even if it's a smile, a wink, or saying, girl, I like your hair, your dress today, whatever, all those things provide a sense of happiness to somebody. In itself. It was so funny to me that I read this on Instagram, that for males in general, they hardly ever get compliments from women in itself. They hardly ever get the thank yous as women get more often than not.
Nobody tells me I'm cute.
And that there was this one young man who wrote in on Instagram in the comments. He goes, the last time a female ever gave me a compliment was almost 6 years ago, and it was an older lady as I was walking by. And I was just like, what? That makes no sense to me. And in itself, because most people, give, compliments all the time, or say, man, you look really nice in this, which always puts a sense of happiness, a sense of self-awareness, a sense of a little bit of joy of who we are really stands out in this world in one way or the other. And so I think when we as humans walk this earth, we should be grateful for the smallest things up to the biggest things, and show that gratitude, show that gratefulness. Man,
gratitude, it comes out in so many different ways.
It does.
In our life. I think it would definitely be the foundation for just a better everything.
Yeah.
I think if people could really start to establish or have some gratitude for the smallest things.
Oh yeah.
But quite often, like I say, let's start with the the smallest, micro things that we've experienced or that we have in our life, but usually for us, it has to be something, quote unquote, very big or material for us to be thankful, and I think that's really the foundation for, us from being happy, experiencing happiness, and also quote unquote really experiencing joy, from what I've learned.
And even going back to the aspect of grief, which is the main topic in itself, being grateful for that life.
Yeah.
Being grateful for what God allowed you to learn from that life when it was on this earth. Taking all of those good nuggets of information and just pushing it into yourself and pushing it out to yourself, out to others, and sharing that information, sharing that love, sharing that way that person made you feel to others. Because those are the types of things that help that person to live still on this earth. And when you hold all of those feelings in, you're just holding it in to kind of, be selfish to yourself, to be honest, in itself. And you don't learn and you don't gain love and get love by just holding it in. You gain love and get love by giving it out in every aspect that you possibly can. And so when you're dealing with grief, look at every good aspect of that person. Bring every thought to the top.
Come on, somebody.
Learn from all of that and push it out to others, because that's the way that person will always live. And then your grief will start to disappear, because you will continue to see that person in other people's actions and other people's ways.
I tell you this, Sharita and Victoria, somebody needs what you all have. Somebody needs the inspiration that you received from your mother's life, from the inspiration that you received from your grandmother's life. When we take that inspiration and it turns into our actions, now we become positive, inspirational influences in other people's lives as well. So we have to find inspiration in that. We have to find, we have to be, have some gratitude, because it's going to take us into action, right?
True.
Like we say, we're always talking about faith, but where's the action that supports the faith? If I have faith and I truly believe, like I say, then it's going to lead me into action. It's going to lead me to be inspirational and motivational in the lives of other people. And it's not even particularly about other people as much as it is me getting engaged and remaining engaged in what's mine, my purpose. This belongs to me, right? For me, this journey, your journey, your journey, your journey, it belongs to you. And if you don't get engaged in it, guess what? Whatever it is you're supposed to do, it'll never be done.
Truly.
So I mean, let's touch on that, Victoria. Let's get the victory here real quick. Come on.
Okay. So ask me the specific question so that I know what I'm answering.
The victory. I need you to talk about the victory. I need you to talk about gratitude.
Okay, gratitude. Sharita hit so many important points that I was over here thinking about too. So that's major.
Right.
The only thing that I wanted to just add to that is that it's for your healing. All of these things, all of the actions that you take, all of the things that you allow yourself to do instead of just staying stagnant in the sadness, that's all for your healing as well.
Yeah,
definitely.
And
agreed.
when you allow yourself to be grateful and have a grateful heart, that is a huge part of your healing. I'll speak specifically to myself, because I was like, I can't believe my mom's not going to be there to walk me down the aisle and to see her grandkids. And I thought about all of those very negative things.
Yeah.
I know it's it's very normal.
It's normal.
It's normal
Normal
when
thoughts.
you're going through grief. Those are some of the first ways the enemy tries to hit you with love, right? But God came and checked me, and He said, some people don't have their mothers, at all. Some people don't get to have. Some people have their mothers in their lives and don't have the close relationship that you had with yours. She literally taught you everything. You know what I mean?
Everything that's important to us that we experience, there's somebody who did not. Man, you blessed.
So and so when I was able to really just grasp that information, to have the eyes of my understanding be enlightened, right, and just know that I haven't really lost anything, because I too do not believe that my mother is dead. That's why I don't say dead, I say passed away. I know that she's in eternity. I know that she's always with me. And so major part of the victory Okay. Major part of the victory, I would say, is that when the Lord had given me the opportunity to share my story, because as I told you guys before, in the beginning of May, I had the opportunity to do a self-care talk about how to move past grief,
Right.
what to do while you're grieving, and I did that while I was still in the middle of my grieving, right? But I'd gotten to a healed enough place where I could think back on the things that were working for me and just speak honestly and candidly about what was going on in my life to a lot of people who were going through something similar and didn't know what to do. And so what I will say is that the victory in grief is the Lord will allow you to be used to bless somebody else, which further blesses you, right? Because the word of God says that those who refresh others, they themselves will be refreshed, right? And so all of these things always cycle back to your healing. It's just allowing yourself to move past yourself. Don't isolate, right? As you see people approaching you to help you through these situations, receive them, receive the help, receive that blessing, so that you can take one step further towards your victory.
Yeah.
And then you get to a place in your healing where you can almost like through fully coming back to yourself, you can help other people who may have been where you were last week, may have been where you were last month. You know, you have no idea how much your testimony will be able to bless somebody else's life. But you want to get to a place of openness to be used in that manner.
Yes. True. It's very an intricate part of individual healing, I've learned, to help other people. You know, I don't know why that is. I haven't thought enough about it to be able to describe it. That's a whole nother show. But I know when I'm not well, I get well from helping other people.
True.
You know, and before you know it, it leads to some healing within myself.
Always.
You know, so this is something that I would definitely, recommend for people as they go through things, when they have the strength. I don't think you never want to, quote unquote, overextend yourself when you're not prepared,
right.
But to make sure that, you're preparing even before the imminent happens. And that's what this show is about, starting to prepare for what is imminent and whatever case that it may be. We never know when, we never know who, we never know where, but making sure that we, utilize and adopt the proper perspective that's going to lead us to think about it in a certain way, which is going to allow us to feel about it in a certain way and allow us to, quote unquote, create, the response and reaction necessary for us to keep going. So that's what we really want you all to hear from us today. To keep going. Start preparing yourself so you can keep going. It's not going to be easy, but we have to keep going. It's going to be challenging. You have to keep going. We're going to have some emotional resilience, some spiritual resilience, some physical resilience, some discipline, some commitment. With the faith should lead into action, but whatever is necessary for us to keep going. And I don't want you to get it wrong. When we say keep going, that doesn't always mean that you got to keep walking, right?
Right.
But I'm going to keep going in my mind and in my heart. I may need to sit down and take a breath or two, but still on. You got to keep going. You cannot shut down because the world needs you. I'm just saying. I mean, every single one of us born on this planet, whatever it is, you talk about your fingerprint, the fingerprint theory, it's a reason why none of us have the same fingerprint. Okay, that's yours. That belongs to you, and your purpose, it belongs to you. And if you don't do it again, it will not be done. Let's prepare for the imminent. Get ready to keep going. Start preparing to keep going. We can't allow grief and deep sadness to take us out. That's our message here today. I hope someone is inspired. If you're going through something, again, our sincerest prayers from the KBOB 89.9 family and everyone in the Better program. But we're going to recommend that you keep going. We're going to recommend that you lean heavily on gratitude and what you received and what you've been through and the lessons that you taught, that you learned, and whatever a person inspired you.
Definitely.
So again, it's coming up at the top of the hour. It is 1 p.m. I do want to say this real quick before we go off the air. Everyone, please tune in every Friday, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time to the Health of the Nation. I want to make it clear. We're not here just to do a small show in a small town. We're here for whoever it is and wherever it is, whatever show, Charlemagne or whoever it, man, we're here to compete with the biggest and quote unquote the baddest in this realm. So please tune in. We're open to subjects that you want us to talk about or to put in perspective, anything pertaining to the health of the nation. Share this show. And again, we really appreciate our guests for showing up today and sitting in with us. Hopefully you'll be back.
I'll be back.
She'll be back. All right. And that is Victoria Udebua.
Yeah.
I got that right. Udebua. And of course, my partner in crime, she's in the house. Sharita Sweet's in the house, and she is our political and community analyst. And we're next week we're going to have to lean in on some things pertaining to what's happening at the level of city government, maybe state government, national government, some things that we see coming because we see things changes because of COVID and the masks and we see companies and we see the city government. They're telling people that they have to do certain things now. And again, just like we talked about preparing for the imminent, we'll still be talking about preparing for the imminent.
Definitely.
All right. So it's getting ready to happen again, y'all. We really appreciate you joining us. We will see you next week. We got to go. Boom.